One night this past week, I got to spend time with a family in town with two kids, one in 4th grade and the other in 1st grade. And it was like magic. The clock struck 5 and out came the mac and cheese. There it was, steaming hot, free, placed on platters before them. That's how it is when you're a kid, you know. You don't have to wonder where the food is going to come from. You don't have to get out your wallet at the end of the meal. Someone who loves you just presents your favorite thing in front of you at just the right time. Being a child is about being dependent on other people. So utterly and completely dependent that you can't even perceive it. You don't even realize that you are. And that is a key reason why Jesus says that we need to approach God and God's kingdom like children. Totally dependent. So dependent, we're not even fully aware of just how dependent we are. Children mean more to their parents than anything else. Nothing is more important to a mom or a dad than their kids. And if we understand that, then we're starting to glimpse what we need to know in order to understand God. If you went to Catholic school and you are of a certain era, you are not going to need me to tell you this. There is an answer to the question, why did God make me? God, according to the training of our Catholic school teaching of generations ago, is God made me to know him, to love him, and to serve him in this life. And does anybody want to finish it for me? And to be happy with him forever in the next. That's what we were taught. And that's exactly right. And what weren't we taught there? Not one mention of making a name for ourselves in the world. Not one mention of how much providing we're supposed to do, how much money we're supposed to make, what kind of inheritance we're supposed to leave, even how many kids we're supposed to have. No, the purpose of our life is to connect with God and be happy with God, here and in heaven. That's our purpose. And that is exactly what children do for their parents. That is why children are more precious than anything else in the life of a parent. Although there are good days and bad days at home, almost any parent I've ever talked to would say, oh, I would gladly die for them. Of course I would trade my life for theirs. That's not even a question. Of course. That's part of parenthood. Now, on any given day, you might not be in the zone where you feel that. You might be furious that they didn't finish their mac and cheese. Or you might have told them, who keeps leaving their shoes here? We have talked about this. Or get up those steps. This is the last time I'm going to tell you to brush your teeth or else. Those are all real feelings that parents have. But on any given day, those same parents would gladly die for their children. And that is why, to understand God, we need to understand a parent. To understand God's heart, to understand Good Friday, we need to understand the way parents love. So, for all of us, if we ask ourselves, what can a child give to a parent? When the parent has all the money, all the wisdom and knowledge, pays all the bills, when someone is so utterly dependent, what can they bring to the table? And there is no payback that a child can give a parent, and there's no payback needed. The only thing needed, the only thing desired, is to spend time and delight in each other. That's the only thing parents want back, is to have time and enjoyment together. Real quality connection. One Advent, long before I was a priest, I was sitting in the pews, and a homily, the first Sunday of Advent, changed my life. the priest suggested that for the 4 weeks of Advent leading up to Christmas, that we try the 3 C's. And the 3 C's stand for coffee, candle, and Christ. The 3 C's. And here's how it works. He said, just get up 5 minutes earlier than you normally would. Make your favorite beverage, coffee or tea or cocoa or whatever you drink, and then light a candle in a dark corner of a room in your house and sit in front of the candle and sip the coffee. You can put a timer on if you want. When the 5 minutes is up, you get up and you go on with your day. He said, if during that prayer something comes to mind, suddenly Hail Marys are in your heart, or the Memorare, or the Our Father prayer, or some other kind of prayer, if that comes up, go ahead and pray it, but feel no pressure at all. You don't need to say anything. You don't need to do anything. Just sit quietly and sip the coffee. What I realize now is, what we're doing when we do that is we are crawling into God's lap and just snuggling in for 5 minutes. That's really what prayer is. It's sitting in God's lap. Sometimes you're bleary-eyed, you just woke up, and you've got your blankie. I think we could all agree this is an adult blankie. And you just sit there with God for 5 minutes, breathing together, quiet together, not trying to do anything or say anything. When I heard this homily, I didn't yet have a daily prayer practice. Now, don't get me wrong. I was a high school religion teacher when I heard that. I went to Mass every weekend, and I said grace before meals when I was with my family, so I considered myself like a A+ Catholic. But I didn't pray every day. I didn't have a way of connecting with God every morning. And I realize now, it's a little bit when we're like that, like we're a kid who doesn't want to be hugged for too long, who's playing video games, and every time the parent comes and says, honey, how are you doing? And you're like, good, when's dinner? Not really tuned in. Can you imagine how that feels for God? To always want to connect with us and have us too busy with whatever the video game controller is in our life to put it down and just spend some time? So I started with 5 minutes, and then Advent ended, and I didn't want to quit. It felt too good. So I kept going. And over time, it grew. 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And now, it's 40 minutes every morning. That's what I do to start the day. And I don't think I could function without it. It's no longer something that I can imagine living without. Some of you may be of the era where you know that the Baltimore Catechism was revised a little bit in the 1960s. And the answer to that first question was edited just a little bit to see if they could make it even clearer. So some of you may have never heard this answer, but this is part of the Baltimore Catechism revision. The answer to the question, why did God make me? God made me to show forth God's own goodness and to share with me everlasting happiness in heaven. There's nothing in it for God other than to be wonderful and divine and beautiful and good and true, and to bring that into the world in the form of us, and then to look forward with delight to us always being together in heaven, where you don't need video games to distract yourself, and where you don't need a blankie because everything is complete. What purpose do I have in my life, according to God? To answer that question, to know the heart of God, we need to know the heart of a parent.